So I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to join and just do a little intro real quick. So thank you all for coming. We're very excited. This webinar is specifically for our international chapter officers, and we're very excited to be able to give you some updated information on CWEEL. AEE is very, very excited to kind of help CWEEL with this effort in getting more involved in chapters and having more women involved inside the US and outside the US. So we did a similar webinar for our US chapters a couple weeks ago, and wanted to do one specifically for you guys so that we could, you know, cater it to outside the US. So we have Kathleen O'Dell, who is the International Committee Chair for CWEEL, and Laurie Wiegand-Jackson, who is the CWEEL Board Chair. Those will be our main two presenters. But first, I'm going to give you a little information about some goals and commitments that we here at AEE are doing. And for those of you who don't know me, I guess I should introduce myself. I am Michelle Whitlock, the Executive Administrator for AEE. Just took over for Ruth Whitlock after she retired in February. So excited to be here, hit the ground running after my maternity leave this year, and have a lot of updates to give you specifically towards this CWEEL initiative. So first, we have partnered with a group called the Clean Energy Education and Empowerment Initiative. So they have a global campaign called Equal by 30. And I'll when we send out the presentation later, I'll include links to this so that you can see. They're about to release a press release on behalf of AEE and CWEEL showing our commitments and goals. But really the bulk of the campaign is to show our commitments to work towards equal pay, equal leadership, and equal opportunities for women in the energy sector by 2030. So their website will have AEE's commitments and CWEEL's commitments and our goals that we want to reach by 2030. And then separately, we're also participating in the Better Buildings Workforce Accelerator initiative, which technically is a US focused initiative for better buildings, but AEE's focus is not the US, it's global. And so we have a couple commitments there to increase the quantity, quality, and productivity of today's workforce in the energy sector. And one of those specific goals is around women in the energy industry. Another is increasing our certifications, around the world. And then a third is kind of pushing the K through 12 focus out through our chapters. So just a little update about what we're doing. And then lastly, one of our goals here at AEE is to have a CWEEL chapter liaison in every chapter. We feel that that's the best way to get women involved, is to have kind of a champion at every local chapter. So with that, I am going to turn it over to, change my slide, Laurie.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We're so happy to have you working with CWEEL, and it's been a great year so far. We've accomplished so much, and we're so glad to have you on the team supporting us at AEE. So I want to start out just by saying welcome to all you wonderful people all around the world. I'm so happy to have this time to share with you. And so we are going to talk a little bit about CWEEL and some things that we're doing to help you to advance our mission and help AEE become a more diverse organization. So to start out, just to give you a little background, CWEEL is the Council on Women in Energy and Environmental Leadership. We are a division of the Association of Energy Engineers. We provide a network for women in the energy and environmental industries, and our mission is to support the career development of women, to provide mentoring, networking. We also provide scholarships for women who are pursuing technical education and careers in the energy and environmental fields. And so our focus is really to increase the diverse membership of AEE by involving women in all levels of participation and leadership in the Association of Energy Engineers. We do have a website for CWEEL, separate from AEE, though we're linked to each other's websites. But again, just the emphasis here is that we are a division of the Association of Energy Engineers. Next slide. So I want to say 5 years ago, we had decided, Mary Ann Lauder and myself at the time, we were board co-chairs, but we decided to establish a board of directors. And so we have a number of very prominent women who sit on the CWEEL board and chair committees. So this is not a board of people that just generally advise, but rather these are very hardworking women who have committees that they're responsible for in terms of achieving the goals and objectives of CWEEL. So since last year, though, Mary Ann Lauderdale has actually stepped into a different role, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So I'm currently chairing the board, and we have a number of committees: Career Advancement, Chapter Liaison Committee, US, Fundraising and Corporate Sponsorships, International CWEEL, where we have today Kathleen O'Dell, who many of you know because you work closely with her in developing CWEEL groups, Marketing, Communication, and Social Media. We have a mentor program committee chair. And as you can see, the women that are leading these efforts are quite accomplished. On the international membership side, we have Suhair Amrat, who I believe many of you also may have had contact with. If you haven't, between Kathleen and Suhair, these are two women that you need to get to know because they are really leading our international efforts for CWEEL. We have a Programs and Events US chapter committee, and we have a Programs and Events International position. This is the first year that we actually broke out Programs and Events into two different committees, similarly to what we have done with membership, having US and international membership committees. So that is an open position. I would ask that you talk to women that you think may be qualified, that have been in the industry for a while, who have experience in helping organize programs and events, and consider encouraging them to put in an application for that position. I think we're closing enrollment in a couple of weeks, so there is some time here. And so please do reach out to your network and see if you could help us fill that very important position. And then we have scholarships, awards, student enrichment, and of course, Michelle, who's our AE CWEEL coordinator extraordinaire. Next slide, please. So this year, we also spent some time between AEE and our CWEEL board discussing the structure of CWEEL and how we would effectively achieve our goals and support local engagement. And so what we're showing here is just the international side, but I will tell you that there's a US side of this that mirrors exactly what we're doing on the international side. And what's exciting for you all about this is really the efforts on the international side for CWEEL drove this initiative. There was such an amazing grassroots effort to develop CWEEL groups at the international level, and we saw how effective that could be. And so we have now modeled that similarly in the United States, where we have an initiative for local chapters, both US and international, to have a couple of roles and potentially a CWEEL group within their organization. So the I guess I'll start out with our polling question number one, and that is, how many of you are already aware of CWEEL? And you have a polling question in front of you. I'm not seeing the results coming up on this, Michelle. Do you see them as they're coming in?
I do. Yeah, I think because it's a meeting instead of a webinar, it's a little different, but I see them. So far, we're
Okay.
at 75% voted and 100% say yes. So I would say that's excellent.
So we held this same session a few weeks ago in the US, and we did not get those same results. So again, this is a case where our international chapters are really leading the way. And I just, am so impressed with the efforts and the support that you have given on an international basis. And again, we are going to follow that lead here and really grow this organization. What's going to happen now, though, is that there's going to be better structure and better support coming from the CWEEL board and AEE to help you continue promoting these initiatives. So as far as the structure goes, again, because we're a division of AEE, CWEEL itself is not a separate legal entity. So we operate as a group under a local AEE chapter when we participate at a local level. So many of you have CWEEL groups established, some of you don't yet. And so part of this dialogue today is about helping you to understand what it takes to start a CWEEL group. And we identified two roles that we would like every chapter to have: a CWEEL lead and a chapter liaison. Now, the chapter liaison has been around for a while, so many of you already have chapter liaisons. And the CWEEL lead is really a new role. And we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about those in the presentation. I just want to highlight that the CWEEL groups, while they are not separate legal entities, the expectation is that they can host separate networking events as well as joint events with the local chapter, because we do see some benefit that women sometimes would like to network with women and be able to discuss the barriers and challenges that they face with women. But we also understand the importance of women and men coming together to address those issues, help solve those problems, and encourage more women to not just be recruited into our industry, but to retain women in our industry for the long term and help them have flourishing careers in our industry. So this idea of separate but together is really important in acknowledging the benefits of both, having some time apart, but also very important to have time together. So with that, I think we can move to the next slide, and I'm going to hand it over to Kathleen to talk about these two roles and what we're looking for each chapter to commit to and the support that we'll be providing going forward.
Great, thank you so much, Laurie. Great to have you all on the call. I'm going to briefly go through the two roles and then ask Samer to just share a little bit about his experience in standing up the first CWEEL group internationally. But I want to reiterate, first of all, what Laurie was saying, that CWEEL is a division of AEE. It is, as Laurie and I talked through this structure and wanted to find as much consistency across the US and international and where CWEEL sits with AEE, we realized, at the heart of this, CWEEL is meant to drive membership for AEE chapters. Like, it's there to support women, but it's also, it's equally important is that it's driving additional membership by women within the AEE chapter. So I think that distinction is really important as AEE chapter officers for you to keep in mind, that these are meant to basically build off of one another. These, the AEE chapter with the CWEEL group incorporated. Also, that is a nomenclature. This term we've used in the past is CWEEL chapter, and we are moving to CWEEL Group because it's a division of AEE and it's part of the AEE chapter. So again, I want you as AEE chapter officers to feel this is part of your chapter's mandate, and this is a group under that mandate. So in that context, the first position that Laurie mentioned is the CWEEL chapter lead. That means it's the lead at the AEE chapter on behalf of CWEEL. This is a board position, and it is meant to stand up the local CWEEL group and grow membership within the local AEE chapter and across the CWEEL group. So we, Laurie, do you know the current status of the chapter bylaws development that we were working on?
I think that is in the hands of AEE, and we'll be hopefully getting something finished here in a couple of weeks.
Okay. So some of you do have a CWEEL board member position already on the AEE chapter board. Our strong recommendation is that every single AEE chapter have a CWEEL lead board position. Again, driving diversity, driving membership, and being the leadership voice on the board on behalf of the CWEEL group. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide then.
And Kathleen, can I just jump in real quick and say that the main focus of the CWEEL lead is to grow that CWEEL group. So they've got a pretty narrow focus.
Yes.
Around, well, I shouldn't say narrow, but it is a clear objective, which is if there isn't an existing CWEEL group, to start one. And if there is one, to get it aligned and really start working together with the resources that we have at the board to bring together networking and other events and to establish itself within that local chapter and to ensure that we are growing that local chapter and increasing its diversity. So I think Kathleen said that, but I just wanted to emphasize that focus.
That's right. Thank you. So the second position is the CWEEL chapter liaison. And so we want to distinguish these as two separate positions, both so that they're very clear on their mandates, but also to, again, drive the pipeline of diverse candidates that are involved in the AEE chapter. So one has the board position whose mandate is to establish and grow the CWEEL group. This position is all about interfacing with the CWEEL US board to get the information that's happening all over the world, to understand what CWEEL initiatives are happening and bring that back to the local chapter through the CWEEL group. So that's what the liaison role is. We have those liaison roles throughout the US, and we want to make sure that we've got both of those positions. Laurie, anything to add there?
No, I think that that does explain it. You know, it's more of a communications role and a connectivity between the board and all the initiatives and resources and the CWEEL initiatives at the local chapter level.
Right.
Yep.
So for those who are not, maybe we could go to the next slide, Michelle.
You want to do the poll question?
Oh, is that, sorry, is it here? Okay.
Yeah, here.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, so a little mixed. Let me give it a couple more seconds.
Sure.
All right, so we have some yes, no's, and I don't knows.
That's not surprising. And it's part of why we're having this event today, is because that isn't like 100% on yes. So that for you yeses, awesome because there's even more that we're going over besides the chapter liaisons. But for the rest of you, this is really great that you've come to this meeting, because it's clear that we need to have this conversation and we want to support you fully in every step that you take along the way of helping to bring greater diversity and membership to your chapter.
Great. So this slide shows where we've had CWEEL groups stood up and have CWEEL activities. And I just wanted to ask Samer Zawade to share his experience briefly with establishing the CWEEL group in Jordan, which was really the trailblazer, I would say, across the board in terms of CWEEL groups and activities that CWEEL group organized. Samer?
Thank you very much, Kathleen. Hello, everybody. Michelle, Laurie, and everybody in the webinar or meeting. Actually, Kathleen was the spark that ignited the idea of starting the chapter in Jordan in 2014. When she came over to Jordan, and she said she likes to meet few of the women leaders in the energy sector and environment. So I did invite 10 ladies to a breakfast, CWEEL breakfast, which is similar to the CWEEL breakfast that we have at the World Energy Engineering Congress every year. So it's early, so like 7:30 or 8. So the ladies said, all of them said, no, we can't come at 8 o'clock. That's to be much later because we have to drive the kids and we have to go to work, blah, blah, blah. So we ended up having a meeting at 10 o'clock, a breakfast meeting, and 6 of them actually came out of the 10. And that was the first meeting we had at the Intercontinental Jordan, I think in 2014. And I noticed that they enjoyed the meeting and they started talking, and so we decided to have another meeting in a few weeks. And at that meeting, about 18 ladies showed up, and later we had another meeting, and about 30 showed up. So we had like an exponential development, organic, I would say, development of the chapter throughout. From 2014 to 2017, and we have about a network of, I would say, close to 800. Recently, during the pandemic, we also started the meetings online, and it was exclusive for women, and we did around 20 meetings. All were led by women speakers. Of course, the attendees, they can be both women and men, but we decided that we want to give the opportunity to the ladies to be speakers and promote themselves and share their experience with the professional community. So I think we had like a close to between I would say 800 attendees in these 20 meetings. So the work was led throughout the years by Engineer Suhair Mherad, because she is very talented and she has the passion to educate, promote the energy ideas and energy trainings. I would like to say that we really felt the difference because the women who were attending, they had the opportunity to learn new things. They also got the to meet the leaders in the industry, in the energy, in the environment, also in specialized disciplines in energy. And they also took trainings. Some were because in 2015 we wrote a proposal to the USAID, and we trained about 150 women in USA in AE certificates. We had a good success rate also. So these professional ladies got to advance their careers with the AE certificates, and it really makes a difference. And we started, I think, with 9% of the members women, and we ended up close to 25, maybe 26% of the professional certified community in Jordan, women. So recently also I'm pushing a lot of work, and we are training a lot of women free, but this time, yes, without USA. Go ahead, Kathleen.
No, I was just clapping for you.
Okay.
I'm practicing using my Zoom reactions.
So really, I keep an eye on supporting women who are talented, but they don't have the opportunity to advance their careers by giving them the AE trainings, and if they pass with high marks, we also offer them to take more trainings, so they become trainers if they have 10 years experience. And we were successful also in developing the training capabilities at more I would say maybe 2-3 women in Jordan are also trainers. It's difficult actually because to find the suitable experience, and but we are working at it. So I think CWEEL is a great idea, and it is making a difference in the community. And it's open. CWEEL has its doors open for both men and women, but we are concentrating lately on women in particular to be speakers and to take the AE trainings, because women need the support more than men, because as of now, let's say 2020, we are in year 2020, the percentage of women in the energy sector is still low. So although the percentage of women at the university level is about 70%. So 70% of the people going to universities are women, but the percentage of women in the energy sector right now is between 20 and 25%. So we have to push it to a higher percentages. So my final remark would be is to join CWEEL, whether you are a man or a woman, because you have great speakers. And actually, that's why I was going to CWEEL in at WEEC in the US, because they always bring amazing speakers, and you always learn something new. So it's definitely an opportunity to enhance your knowledge, your network, and definitely you will learn something new. So thank you very much for your amazing work. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks so much, Samar, and thanks for all of your work as AE president. So you're continuing to give back to the organization. Great. So I think we have like maybe one more slide. Laurie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I did want to also highlight, I have participated in events with CWEEL Tunisia and CWEEL Chile, who have both put together some pretty incredible events as well. I definitely want to do a shout out to those two groups. The CWEEL Tunisia group put on an event that had several hundred people from around the Middle East and European markets come together around empowering women in energy. That was the focus of the event. It was an amazing event. It was multilingual. They had translators. I mean, it was an impressive event. And so I did want to highlight that as also something that has happened at the international level. And then for CWEEL Chile, they have, over the span of the past 2 years, really been putting together some amazing programming. I participated last year in events that they held and connecting in with UN initiatives, APEC, local Chile energy ministries, and as well this year, they put together an amazing series on green hydrogen. And again, similar to what Samar is saying, with women speakers talking about these very important new technologies, but really these are open to men and women to benefit from. But our focus in this is, you know, we want to highlight that there are qualified women, and we want to give them the opportunities to have those speaking roles, to participate and organize events, and to get that recognition and start really helping to build their careers. And for other women who are maybe new to the industry, who've gotten, you know, we've recruited them in to help retain them, they need to see women that they can say, oh, maybe I could become like her. Maybe I could become that person in green hydrogen that's speaking. Like, they have to be able to see themselves and have a future path for a career, because many women start and then they leave the industry because they feel that there just isn't really a path for them. And if we've gone so far as to, you know, they've gotten that STEM education and then they've taken a step to come into our industry, we definitely don't want them to leave because they feel like there isn't really a spot for them here. So I just wanted to add that, to shout outs to those organizations and ideas for things that have happened over the last couple of years internationally.
Thanks, Laurie. So this last slide, actually, I think maybe we could even just move to the final slide, because this assumes you have a chapter liaison, but I'd actually rather talk about how to get started if you don't have one. I think the very first step is to identify a chapter liaison. Now, we've talked through these two roles. We do want to generate a pipeline of women in leadership roles, visible roles that are engaging with this. As Laurie said, one is more of a communications role back to the US CWEEL board, and the other is really driving growth, establishment and growth of the CWEEL chapter, or the CWEEL group, sorry, within the AEE chapter locally. And so I would highly encourage everyone to get started by identifying candidates for those roles so that they can just get started with getting information from what other CWEEL groups are doing, how they're getting started. Many CWEEL groups, they focus on different things. You've heard a few examples from Samar and from Laurie, but every group has had some things that were more important to them versus other things. You know, one group wanted to really get involved in a community event around energy efficiency for kids. Another, we really wanted to focus on technical skills building. Another wanted to really grow networking mostly. Another was site visits. So, you know, it's just, it's very different, and there's no one formula for it. I would say it's meant to be locally driven, what's desired by the CWEEL group within each local chapter. So I think with that, maybe we've had a couple of questions here. So I saw Romina, thanks for joining. Romina is the energy behind the CWEEL group in Chile. So Romina is asking Laurie if this organogram that you presented, if that is already in operation. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes. So the answer is yes. This is already in place. We're rolling it out officially in this meeting with you all, but this is official. It's approved by AEE. It is approved by the CWEEL board, and we are here to support each of you in bringing this to fruition at your local chapters.
Great. And then there's a question, Michelle, about sharing the slide deck with chapters. So I assume that we will go ahead and distribute this, right?
Yes, I'll clean up the recording a little bit and then send this out to just all international chapter officers, whether they were on this or not. I'll share that with the slides.
Great. Okay. Okay, and then question, Ismaila from Ghana, hi. So confirm the number of CWEEL liaison required per chapter. So for each chapter, there's two positions. There's a chapter liaison and a chapter, a CWEEL lead. This is our ideal. So if you start with one person, that one person can kind of be double-hatted initially, but our idea is that there's two so that they can work together. They can, one, as we said, is more about growth. One is more about communications and staying engaged across the network. And if there are specific questions around the CWEEL group itself, I'm happy to answer that. But essentially, we start with a liaison and we start with the CWEEL lead, and they work together to organize, as what Samar was describing. This is the way I like groups to get started, is organize with a core group of women in the energy and environmental fields that are involved with the AEE chapter, that can then sort of generate what are the areas of interest, what would be meaningful to them in their own leadership development and their career trajectory, and from there generate events that they may want to organize, or activities, or trainings, etc. And so with that, I hold a quarterly call for the chapter liaisons to come together internationally and hear from each other what's going on, and that's where we share what the various activities are. We also have a CWEEL newsletter, and we had our first, international only CWEEL newsletter this quarter, just to highlight in particular all of the activities going on around the world. So that's another area to get ideas for what CWEEL groups are doing.
And I'll just add that typically the CWEEL group starts by reaching out to all of your networks and saying, hey, AEE CWEEL group is starting. We want to put together a networking event for women. Here, here's the time and date, join us. And you would be surprised. I mean, you'll definitely get a response. Again, it might be 5 or 6 initially. It might be 20. Like, it's just hard to know in that first outreach the kind of response you're going to get, but you will get response, because women in this industry do like getting that ability to connect with each other and really learn from each other and support each other. So typically the chapter liaison and the CWEEL lead, or if they're just one person, like Kathleen said, they'll start out by just working with the AEE chapter and the network to put that outreach, to start with a small, Zoom networking meeting. And we can also support that. If you need technology to help you put these meetings together, we can provide that for you so that you can have this networking meeting virtually. In today's world, it's the way it has to be, unfortunately. But the benefit of virtual is that it can make it easier for especially women who may be juggling a lot of responsibilities. And I understand men too have lots of responsibilities, but so I'm not saying you don't, just that, as we're all juggling a lot of responsibilities, doing a virtual event means we don't have to drive or take transit to get to an event, and all the time associated with that. You could make it a half hour or 45 minutes to an hour and get some great reaction. And then once you have that initial small group, you can start talking about the things that you want to do going forward, and there will be no shortage of ideas, trust me.
Yep. So we have a couple questions in the chat that I think we should address, Laurie. So one is around fees. So CWEEL has a membership fee. It is modest. It is separate from the AEE membership fee, and it is essentially, I think, the AEE member fees, there are a couple tiers of what those fees are, and the CWEEL fees will mirror that. So Laurie, I'm not sure the best way to get that out around CWEEL fees, but we have, anything you want to say specifically about that?
Yeah, Michelle. So Michelle will probably weigh in on this because it's the one piece that's still being finalized,
Okay.
or what our fees are going to be going forward. But what you just said is absolutely correct. We are going to be aligned with the structure of AEE's membership structures. And then typically we're coming in at, I think it's like half or less of the annual membership fee for AEE would be the CWEEL fee.
Mhm.
And then we can also talk about discounts, like first year membership discounts. There's things that
Mhm.
we can support.
Yeah.
Both AEE supports that and CWEEL as well. So we don't want a financial impact to stop people from being a part of this.
Right.
But we also want them to show some commitment and really be part of the organization. In some ways, when you put some financial support into the organization, it means you're also committing to its longevity, its existence. You know, it's a commitment that you're making to that group. So
Yeah,
we do think it's important.
exactly.
Great question.
So the questions about whether the lead and or liaison, they do need to be AEE members to hold those positions, and CWEEL members. Now, I will say that there have been many groups that have generated CWEEL events where non-members have participated. It's really meant to drive momentum in building additional membership and engagement. That is perfectly fine, but the two leadership roles, we do want them to be members. And then the other question about whether the liaison can be male, the answer is yes, recognizing that the purpose of these roles is to generate leadership opportunities and visibility for women in the longer term, but understood that some local chapters have less female representation, and that's right there, shows you that there's a huge need for this group to drive membership for your chapter. I do have one CWEEL liaison right now who is male that was in that situation, and so that answer is yes. And let's see, what are the other questions here? And people can also just, you can type it, but you can also just, I think, unmute, right, Michelle, at this point, if to ask a question?
Mm-hmm. I think the only other one is, oh, go ahead.
Can I just say that for anyone that's looking for more information about this, this is why my email address and Kathleen's email address is on there. Connect in with us via email directly, and then we'll be able to start working with you to start to develop and understand the steps that you need to take to get this moving forward at your chapter, or to engage at a different level if you already have some CWEEL activity. Just, connect in with Kathleen and myself, and then we'll work directly with you. We'll connect you with who you need to be connected with within our organization. And the other question about, is there an AEE award for these initiatives? There is. So we last year started our first AEE CWEEL chapter award, and this is comes with a $500 US award with it. And so for the AEE local chapter, we have both US and international, that has the sort of best CWEEL support and activity. We are now giving awards for that annually. So I think that can definitely drive. And the comment about the $500 award is that money then has to be used for future CWEEL activities. So it isn't an award that goes to an individual. It's an award that is going to that chapter for purposes of continuing their CWEEL engagement. Maybe that can support an event, or maybe it provides scholarships for people to get training, or you all figure out what you want to do with it. But it is money that gets allocated goes to the chapter, but earmarked specifically for CWEEL activities.
Laurie, thanks. You mentioned scholarships. Maybe you could say a little bit more also about the CWEEL scholarships.
Yes, so we do award scholarships. It works through the AEE Foundation. And so when you submit scholarship applications and, you know, encourage students to submit applications, those are reviewed by the AEE Foundation Committee. And we are typically looking at supporting and sponsoring with between $500 and $1,000 US payments for women who have submitted qualified applications and have been, you know, vetted through the AEE Foundation process. So it's a similar application, it's the same application process, but we have funds that we allocate specifically for women applicants. And so we definitely would want to promote that as well as another driver for women to be part of the organization and encourage them to get education, and we could help them support that with these scholarships.
Great. So I see a question from Mavis from Ghana around, you know, how can one be a part of this? Again, please feel free to reach out to Laurie and me, but as Samara shared, we have just started with very small groups of, you know, women in the energy space, whether they're AE chapter members or not, for that initial kind of brainstorming session. And I think, you know, that's something I can certainly help you with, Laurie can. And as she said, you know, in a virtual world, it's even easier for us to organize and join such things. And then maybe, you know, you can also chat with some others, including the current group that is based in Kenya, which is our sole Sub-Saharan Africa group right now. And so we'd love to have a group established in Ghana to represent West Africa. So happy to chat with you more about that, Mavis.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sounds good. Laurie, you're on mute. Oh, okay. Maybe you're...
Sorry. Yeah, I just realized. So one other thing is that, as many of you know, this year was supposed to be the first AEE International Conference, right? And I was pretty excited about going to Ireland for that conference. And then because of COVID, like everything else, right, that actually got postponed. But in addition to AEE having an international conference, we at that conference would like to have a CWEEL event like we do at the AEE conferences that are held in the US. And so there would be an opportunity also for everyone to attend that CWEEL event. Typically we have a great speaker, as Samar mentioned, very educational, men and women attend. And we also typically have like a networking reception. So as we do more of these international AEE events, know also that CWEEL will be engaged, and it would provide a way not just for your local chapters, you know, we've talked about how to build up in your local chapter, but we'll be looking for ways regionally to bring people together and help continue to add more value for your organizations. So I'm excited about that also, because that's a new initiative that AEE is putting forth, and that certainly we're going to align and follow along with, as well as CWEEL.
Any final questions while you have us on the line right now? As I said, happy to engage one-on-one going forward. We're really excited to roll out more groups around the world and continue to build a momentum here. So maybe we could, is there a minimum number for starting the chapter? So again, no is the answer. So the first step is one person who wants to be the chapter liaison and can begin to get plugged into communications with with me and with the CWEEL board on our quarterly calls, and get to know the other CWEEL liaisons around the world. So you can start with one person.
And that's for the CWEEL group, right? That's presuming we already have an AEE chapter there.
That's right.
An AEE chapter. Okay. Yeah.
That's right.
Bye, Paul.
Toodle pips.
Take care.
All right. Well, maybe we can go ahead and leave it there then. Laurie, I know Michelle had to just step away for a moment, so I just wanted to thank all of you for joining. Really appreciate it. Please reach out, spread the word, help us get established with these core positions that we have in our new in our structure, and want to look forward to working with all of you. All right. Okay. Have a great day, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.